Good time of day to you, to wherever you are in the world. This is Ryan Murphy with another Puzzle Challenge video. ChessUniversity.com presents our 20-second puzzle challenge, and since it's early in the week, this is once again for players sort of more in the beginner range, so I would say like under 1,000. And for this particular position, it's white to play and win. There's two very, very crushing options on the first move of this one, so both of those will be accepted as correct. You can find the official post of this on our website at chessuniversity.com, which is also where you should post any solutions you want to give so you can get rewards points on the website. So this was a game played, once again, on chess.com in an online blitz tournament. There's a lot of those these days. You should check them out. It was played between the players Hong and Tu. So this is a pretty big rating mismatch, 2,400 against a 1,500 level player. So lots of tactics in this game, and we're going to reset to the starting position to see how this game developed. We'll look at it from the white perspective, because that's where the tactic happens at the end. So here we began with a Sicilian, knight c3, knight c6, d4, so transposing into an open Sicilian, a6. It's a bit unusual that the knight's not already on the f6 square, but in any case, white plays the move bishop g5, anticipating knight f6, to sort of, I guess, transpose into a normal position. Knight f6 played. Now queen d2, e6, and this would be sort of a normal, well, normal-ish knight-orf position, except for the fact the knight's on c6 very early, so it's slightly unusual. So I guess we have some sort of like classical Sicilian where the move a6 has been played early, which does happen in some variations, so not that unusual. Castle's long, bishop e7, and now f4. It's a typical move, supporting the bishop, looking at ideas of potentially breaking through with e5 or f5 at the right moment. Bishop d7 played, knight to f3 back. This will help support the move e5 in the future. Also make sure that the bishop on g5 is supported enough, which can actually be quite relevant in some positions. Alright, so black continues with their counterplay on the queen side, which is one of the main ideas here, and they go b5. Makes a lot of sense. Now white takes on f6, and black takes with the pawn. Notice that if black were to take with the bishop, which maybe is most people's first thought, this would leave, at minimum, the pawn on d6 unprotected. So queen takes d6 would be possible. Probably quite good for white. So g takes f6, and now we see a very common structure that you get in the classical Sicilian, these doubled f-pawns and then the two center pawns next to each other, and a lot of the times you'll even see black keep the king in the center with this formation. And against this, white's looking to break through on the light squares usually. They're looking to get a well-timed f5 move in, try to pry away at this e6 pawn, which, if you can get this pawn to budge, then the d5 square becomes a tremendous outpost. Okay, and if you're allowed to take on e6, then in some cases you're weakening this diagonal to the black king. So it's a pretty fragile position for black. They do have to be very careful about pawn breaks that white can try. Alright, so here white does go for the thematic move f5. Black goes queen c7. Perhaps black could actually get away with castling here, even though it looks terrifying to castle into an open g-file. There's actually a famous Fischer game where he does this. And it might be quite interesting here. Anyway, black went queen c7, king to b1, just getting out of the c-file. Rook c8, bishop to d3, trying to complete development. I think white's got a pretty good position now, because they got f5 in, and there's really not any immediate worry that they have. Knight e5 played, knight to e2, knight takes f3, g takes f3. Probably this trade would help white, if I had to say, because now castling kingside really is not going to be an option for black, now that there's rook g1 immediately in the position. Yeah, and I think the g-file is going to be more useful for white, because white's rooks are connected, so they can both support each other on the g-file. So b4 played, knight to f4, putting even more pressure on e6. Also knight h5 in some positions can be an idea. So black is continuing with their pawn storm on the queen side, but it's going to take quite a bit of time to actually break through. Queen e2 played, queen to c5, b3. Not sure b3 is actually helping that much. It might actually be helping black. Generally speaking, when you've castled and your opponent's pawn storming you, you don't want to give them a hook. A hook is a pawn that is pushed in front of the other pawns, exposed in such a way that the opponent can latch onto it with a pawn break of their own, which will help them achieve opening files against your king. So like a4 now becomes quite interesting, though it wasn't played. Queen c3 instead, which actually doesn't really threaten much. So I think a4 was probably more principled. Just try to open some lines. But okay, bishop c4, improving the bishop. Queen e5 hitting the knight. Knight goes to h5. It's pretty annoying there. In a lot of positions, there's going to be knight g7. And then pressure on e6, for example. So e takes f5, rook d5. Nice move, taking advantage of the fact that d5 is now very, very weak and evicting that queen. So ef5 is just it's a big blunder. It's a positionally it's a move you don't play, but it almost always leads to immediate tactical problems as well. But strategically, like this, when white manages to fracture the pawn structure like this and remove the e6 pawn, this particular Sicilian structure just collapses. So you can't do this. So yeah, queen c3, e take f5, bishop to c6 hitting the rook, and rook back to d3 hitting the queen, queen e5, rook e3, and after the next move, queen takes f5. I mean, like I said earlier, just a moment ago, black's already in huge trouble. They're completely lost. But after queen takes f5, they're losing by force, which is why it's a good tactics puzzle. So here, as I said at the beginning, it's white to play and win. You can provide any variation or move that you think is winning. If you think it requires more than one move to show why your move's winning, you should include all the moves that you think are relevant in your variation. But otherwise, yeah, make sure you check out the official post, which I'll put in the description to this video. There'll be a link to chessuniversity.com's official post. You can post there if you want the rewards points towards your account. So thanks for checking this one out, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another one.